ambassador. Is that what you call him? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
general secretary.
Yeah, general secretary. Yes.
Yeah, he had some comments that didn't go over so well with Israel. Turkish President Erdogan, he throws his support for Palestine as well as Hamas. He didn't refer to Hamas as a terrorist organization, but a liberation kind of freedom fighter type of bit. Yeah, that's how he described them. That didn't go over so well with Israel. So there are a lot of countries right now that are turning their backs on Israel. I mean, that's Arab nations mostly. But on the Western front, I think you see a lot of support for Israel, but I think people are getting concerned about the death toll that's continuing to rise right now in Gaza. The hospitals, they need fuel to sustain. They need supplies. They need a lot of things that to treat all these people that are injured. Right now, they have bodies all over the hospital. Their kids, families, all included, and Hamas as well. But yesterday the death toll was at somewhere around like 700. So there are a lot of calls right now to you got to stop this. But like I said, for some strange reason, you see a lot of the Western media. They're like saying, no, they don't have to stop, keep going, type of thing. They can do as far as they can go as far as they want. But right now, even the death toll, Palestinian death have far surpassed.
Yeah, some pundits are saying that they have to completely eradicate Hamas because Hamas can't stand Jews, they can't stand Israel's, and Israel, they were on the defensive front in the beginning, right? I mean, so it is clear that Hamas attacked Israel first. I think the official record shows that they attacked women, children, kidnapped 200 people. So I think the anger was all the way around, not just in Israel, but
there were also some unconfirmed reports that helped fuel that anger.
Yeah, and then
which I'm not sure was really it played a big factor. And I don't think you can just wave it off.
And I think as time went by, you see a lot of protesting for Palestine in these college camps.
And some countries have outright banned protesting for Palestine.
Like France did that as well.
That's weird. That is weird to me. That smells.
And now people are saying you have pundits like Tucker Carlson and some other people saying this is World War III preview of World War III.
I don't think it's a preview. I think it's the view right here.
I think the war is probably gonna go long, right? I mean, we have Ukraine and Russia, and now we have Israel and Hamas situation. So you have Janet Yellen saying that we can handle two wars. I think that's also crazy too. But we want to.
Who is she? Did she? It's not her that's going to the battlefront. It's not her dropping bombs or shooting missiles, or it's not her doing any of that. So I don't know what she's talking about. But
she's United States
financially. She is
Secretary of Treasury.
But every year they've been raising the debt ceiling.
Financially, she's saying, yep.
Every year they've been raising the budget. The debt ceilings keeps on going up. Every year the Democrats have been spending. And they're saying, we could do two more wars. Why not? We can do this. Why? Because what? BlackRock has all that money? Is that why? I mean, what are you talking about? Where are we getting all this money? Which doesn't even really exist, by the way.
I used to care about the debt ceiling a lot. And I think a lot of conservatives, Republicans used to. But now I think it doesn't matter anymore. Even during the Trump administration, the debt ceiling was raised. So I feel like, okay, probably because America,
Soros got our back, man.
Yeah, I mean, America can print their own dollars, so probably they feel like we can just print money unlimitedly. And also, Paul Krugman, New York Times columnist, he's the one who pretty much says it. We can just print over and over and over again, so we don't need to even worry about it. So I don't understand that either.
Anyways.
Yeah, and the taxpayer has to pay back anyway, right? They have to pay back.
We pay for everything, including sex change operations.
Yeah, true.
Come to America.
Yeah. So anyway, we want to delve deeply into this Israel-Hamas war. It's war now, right? So we brought in Lebanese American and a lawyer, and he's also an expert of Hamas and Hezbollah. He knows very well about these organizations. So we welcome Bilal. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Bilal?
That's right. Bilal Shatil, that's right.
Bilal Shatil. Okay, so Bilal, can you tell us about Hamas? What I understand is, so I went to the DNI website. It's one of the intelligence agency in America, and it says, the first sentence goes like this: Hamas formed in late 1987 at the beginning of the first Palestinian Intifada, which is an uprising. Is that correct, or Is it incorrect?
So this
I
was
would
in
say let's
Israel?
just-
Sorry. This is
Hamas.
So Hamas
How-
came out through an uprising in Israel? Or
Yes, come out in Palestine.
Okay, Palestine.
Palestine, yes.
Palestine.
Yes.
Where's
So
Palestine?
I'll just say I think we should take a step back and because the whole mainstream media framing of this as a Israel-Hamas war is completely misleading. I think this is a genocide that we're seeing carried out in real time by Israel against all Palestinians in an effort to clear Gaza. This whole notion that this is a war between Israel and Hamas throws off the common layperson who, like a lot of your viewers, are looking to the mainstream media for answers, for direction, for some clarity on the situation. And just that headline, "This is a war between Hamas and Israel," makes it very difficult to understand the situation. For anybody who has any knowledge on the history of the situation, they can see it for what it is. You have one nation that is a military superpower that's backed by the US and other massive superpowers in Israel, just completely obliterating a very, very small area of land that's densely populated with Palestinians in Gaza, while simultaneously carrying out unlawful arrests and killings in the West Bank at the same time. And we can get into the deception of the media and how it's being framed. But that's something that your viewers must understand, is that this is a deliberate genocidal effort by Israel with all of its military might against the Palestinian people.
You're absolutely right, because you have one side of the media that's reporting something, and if you look at what and how Al Jazeera is reporting, it's a much different perspective. The fact of the matter is that we're living in an information society, and as you mentioned, I believe that there was definitely disinformation that helped fuel the rage against Hamas. Now the rage is towards Hamas. Now Israel is going against Hamas, but they killed a lot of civilians and kidnapped a lot of people. What drove them? What do you think was the precursor that played a part in having Hamas come out on the front and attack first like that?
Just the history, the expansionist approach that Israel has taken in Palestine, dating back to 1948 until now, just chipping away at Palestinian land, arresting civilians in Palestine. They're just bullies, and they've dominated the entire area over the last 75 years. And this is an extension of that. October 7th was not just some random occurrence. Hamas was created by the conditions that were created by Israel. And I think once we start there as our premise, it becomes a little bit clearer for normal people to understand.
So Bilal, do you oppose the fact that Israel came back in 1948? Do you think Israel shouldn't have come back in the first place? You know what happened during the Nazi era. You had 6 million people killed under Hitler. So that's
absolutely.
So there was a collective guilt towards Jewish people. So the consensus was Jewish people need their land to live. We can't keep this diaspora continuing. So I think United Kingdom, also United States, pretty much, they collectively agreed, okay, let's bring them back to the Holy Land, Israel. And that's how it came about. Of course, we have the Rothschilds family who engineered all this. But can you elaborate on that? Do you oppose Israel being there from the beginning, or I want to know your stance on this?
Yeah, so first of all, a lot of people don't know that there were waves of Jews that came to that region from 1880 until 1948 and beyond. But it wasn't until 1948 where the Jews that were there began taking actual military steps to take over land. And that obviously hasn't stopped until today. When they came to the region, Palestinians, first of all, Jews and Palestinians have lived among each other for millennia,
Mhm.
and there was no issues. And Palestinians welcomed the Jews to their land, and they provided services to them, and there was no issues whatsoever. The initial aggressor were the Jews that came to the land after 1948, and there was the various militia groups, and they were committing terrorist acts against the Palestinian Arabs, and that's shouldn't be lost on anyone.
You mentioned your perspective that Jews want to get rid of Palestinians from Israel, but a lot of the Jews are Israel is also saying that all the Arab countries want the Jews out of there. Is there any credence to that?
So I wouldn't frame this as Jews and Arabs. Okay, there's this idea, this political movement of Zionism that have used the beautiful religion of Judaism as a pretext to carry out political ends. There are millions of Jews that do not agree with the state of Israel and are chanting Free Palestine right now. And so when we talk about Jews, Arabs, Muslims, it's the Zionist political agenda and the Arab world that's surrounding it. And I think that's a very important way to frame it, because if you say Jews, well, that's not accurate, and it is anti-Semitic to say these Jews don't want these Muslims, or the Arabs don't want it. No, it's a matter of anti-Zionism on the part of pro-Palestinian and humanitarian activists everywhere.
So you're from Lebanon, right? Did you live there too?
No, I'm first generation Lebanese American.
First generation. Okay. So we understand that Hezbollah, Hezbollah is many people consider it as an Iranian terrorist group, but somehow it started its movement in Lebanon, and we know that Hezbollah is also very much. Some people have been criticizing Hezbollah actually helping out Hamas, attacking Israel. What do you think about people who say that, who claim that?
So again, the history of Hezbollah and how they were created, again, was as a result of Israeli occupation and aggression. And that's how they were created, out of necessity to defend the land. They weren't just some proxy created by Iran to take over Israel with the means of wiping out Jews, which is how it's framed, and that's not fair or accurate. And as it relates to your question, what do I think about Hezbollah? I mean, prior to just a few years ago, they were not, in the US, they were not designated as a terrorist organization. It wasn't until recently that they're now designated as a terrorist organization. And it goes back to the quote of, one man's freedom fighter, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And I don't obviously see Hezbollah, even though I'm a U.S. citizen and I'm an attorney, and this is what the law says. The books say that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. I don't see it that way. And these are individuals that are trained to defend their land.
I think I've mentioned this before, but when Korea was fighting for its independence from Japanese colonial rule, they did a lot of stuff, a lot of acts that involved civilians as well.
Yeah.
But, when we look back in history, we know that they were freedom fighters.
But can we? I don't want to equate Japan with Israel.
But
you know what I mean?
Depending on which political agenda you're on, who is the terrorists and who is the liberators? Those are two very definitions that could be used both ways, and it could switch at any given point.
Yeah.
Isn't that the reason there was Afghanistan and all this other stuff that was going on? Weapons of mass destruction, things like that.
Go ahead, Bilal.
So I would respectfully disagree with that, because I think we have to look at who is the initial aggressor. Like in the law, if me and you are in an argument and I punch you, and you punch me back and you kill me, well, you're not guilty of murder because that's self-defense. And I was the initial aggressor, and you're just defending yourself. When we're talking about Israel, we have to ask, okay, who was the initial aggressor here? And at all relevant times, Israel has been the initial aggressor. And the responses that militant groups have carried out were in self-defense. And they continue to be in self-defense.
But see, that's where people culturally can't understand why you would grab people from the middle of like a music festival who are just partying,
the women
and
the
then
children,
grab them
right.
and then use them as hostages and kill people who aren't really involved in this whole war. You know, that's where the message gets really twisted over there, and then the world begins to gravitate towards Israel, Israel's side of the story. And the thing is that I think from a world standpoint, no one really knew what was going on until October 7th. And then in October 7th, boom, this happened. And then some people, it's just like, oh, wow. You know, but some people, most people who've been to college or who actually know a bit of history would know a little bit about
Yeah,
this.
I want to piggyback a little bit on that. Yeah, you're right. For the public opinion, you know, if Hamas or Palestinian wants to win over the world's public opinion, it's not good for them to attack like women and children. And I think that's where they immediately lose a lot of people's support. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I can't speak to the tactical strategy of what they did and why they did it. But what I will say is the reason that the world isn't seeing the daily atrocities that Israel is committing, because if they did, obviously they would support Palestinians off immediately. But the reason they're not seeing it is because the mainstream media is not portraying these daily atrocities.
You're right. I'm actually aware of what you're talking about. Not to the fullest extent, but I'm actually aware of what you're talking about, and I understand why this fueled Hamas's reason for doing what they did. But it's just the point is that how do you not get that across? I guess you don't have the media coverage, or Palestine doesn't have that kind of coverage. And we did mention before in our pre-interview that you said that Israel has a whole plan or like a master plan thesis type of a thing when it comes to media and media manipulation.
Yeah, I mean, Israel, first of all, we have to understand Israel is literally one of the strongest lobby in the world. They have the best, most resourceful political action committees. They fund, all sorts of journalism and media to be biased in favor of Israel. And then they employ these bully tactics, to silence any sort of voiced opposition against or criticism against Israel. And they just throw it under this blanket, oh, this person's anti-Semitic. Look at the Canary Mission, for example. They target students on university campuses for speaking out against Israel or criticizing Israel. They call them anti-Semitic, terrorist sympathizers, all types of horrendous things. And then these individuals end up, in an interview with a company who is in a lot of ways beholden to the Zionist agenda, and can't hire this individual because there's a conflict there.
Bilal, so do you understand when Hamas first attacked Israel around Gaza, it was a rave party, right? It was a rave party, and people have been saying that those people there, these Jews are pro-Palestinian people, the people who live around Gaza. So why is Hamas attacking pro-Palestinian Jews? There has been some criticism about that. Do you think there's some credence there, or what's your opinion about that?
I don't think we have sufficient information to even make a comment about this.
So you're saying that could be fake news?
So you're saying that there's no credence?
I'm just saying we don't have sufficient information. We have the October 7th videos and attacks that we saw, but I haven't seen any sort of evidence or interviews. I haven't seen anything.
Okay, all right, I understand.
To be able to make a comment, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about all those the city where they ravaged and basically shot and killed many people? I know that there were reports of beheaded babies, but those were never really confirmed actually by the Israeli government nor any other press agency.
What about him? What's the question?
What about all the people that they claim to have killed in that area? I mean, that there were I think 40 deaths and this and that. You haven't seen enough evidence for that either, or to feel that
so
that was
yeah,
true?
I think. I mean, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
First of all, any innocent civilians whose lives were lost, you're not human if you don't support these individuals as martyrs, as people who we're praying for, and people who should not have lost their lives. These are innocent civilians we're talking about. So this whole question is, do you condemn the innocent people that Hamas killed? Of course, but it's such an insulting question to ask someone, because you have to be not human to have any other opinion besides, of course, we condemn the killing of innocent civilians anywhere on any side.
Oh, you're saying
why-
that the one who landed the first punch, it was Israel, so they have the original sin regarding all this Middle East chaos. It seems like is that what you're trying to say, right?
I mean, so there's been cycles of violence that have occurred over the years. And 99% of these cycles, they were kicked off, initiated, propelled by an unlawful act by Israel.
Okay.
And that's something that's
And I understand that every one of those skirmishes or whatnot ended up with more Palestinian deaths than Israeli deaths. Okay, I understand that. But,
of course.
Hamas is saying that they represent a nation of people, the Palestinians, right?
And they are the majority. What I understand is in the parliament,
Now,
Palestine column.
But when you're saying that there isn't as many confirmed reports as you would like to have you come up with a decision, but according to the reports that are out there right now, they came in and on October 7th and did a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of mean stuff, and Hamas is known as a terrorist organization because of some of the things that they do. Now, Hamas scares me just like the Mexican cartel does.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's not a good image to have.
You're right. When people
to
say
start
Hamas,
a negotiation, when people are fearing you, I mean, how can they even feel comfortable about letting you lead a nation of people? So I'm saying, what do they want? What did Hamas want with this attack, or whatever happened on October 7th?
Right. So first of all, way prior to October 7th, when Hamas was in peace talks with Israel, all of the conditions essential to the peace process, Israel wouldn't agree to. So it is Israel who has thwarted any sort of peace in the region long before these attacks occurred. And I think that's very important to understand.
Okay, so you think Israel?
So from the Palestinian perspective, I'm sorry. From the Palestinian perspective, Israel doesn't want to negotiate. Israel doesn't want anything to do with anything. They just want Palestine gone.
Yeah.
So you're saying that. What Israel is trying to do is completely take over Gaza and also West Bank. That's their ultimate goal.
1,000%.
And this is something that the mainstream media has not been covering. But okay, what do you think about the hospital bombing? You say that the mainstream media has been too pro-Israel, but I see it differently. I think probably Fox News and some conservative outlets, probably they might be more openly pro-Israel. But when I read the New York Times articles, for instance, if they jumped, even NBC, ABC, CBS, they jumped on the news that the hospital was bombed, and the cause of it is because of Israel bombing. But later, they retracted it, that it's not Israel. What do you think about that?
Well, the only reason they retracted it is because there was so much outcry. Remember, Israel took the credit for this. First of all, they warned the hospital that they would bomb it. After they bombed the hospital, they took credit for it and cheered it on. But when the international community and social media blew up, sorry to use that word, but went nuts and criticized Israel, they said, "Oh no, it was Hamas that did it." And then all of the mainstream media said, "Oh yeah, it was Hamas that did it." But now, recently, there's been forensic experts that have established that no, that's not true. The bombs came from Israel.
Okay, so Bilal, all due respect, I don't remember Israel rooting for the hospital bombing, that they cheered about it. I don't know about that.
Oh no, they put out a tweets and then deleted the tweets, and I could send those to you so you can share them on your website so people have a reference.
Yeah, I think New York Times, they changed their stance because a lot of their readership, I mean, I think probably 90% of their readers are liberal and Democrats, okay? So, and I think they have a lot of Jewish readers, and they complained a lot about their stance regarding Israel. So I think that's why I think.
Why do you think it's
their
like a
tone
it's
changed.
like a left-right thing?
Can you answer to that,
Let me
Bilal?
ask you that question. Why do you think it's become like a left-right thing? So progressives and liberal stances, well, for the Palestinian people. And
I would say probably the non-establishment,
yeah.
right?
But when you see like the I guess the conservative stance, and very strongly so, I emphasize
Like
it
Ben
because,
Shapiro, right?
yeah, some of these guys. Well, I mean Ben Shapiro, obviously,
Yeah,
he's
obviously he's
Jewish.
Jewish, yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
yeah.
pissed off, right?
But Fox News.
When you look at like Fox News, just the regular host, like they say it with like fervor. Like
Yeah.
I remember 9/11,
right,
and it
you're
was
right.
this kind of a emotion.
Okay, so even last night, I think Bill O'Reilly said that Hamas has to be either eradicated or this will continue.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're like saying, let's hang him by
There's-
their skin.
yeah, and they're saying, hey, we can't just stop it here. And what they're saying is, hey, regarding Ukraine and Russia, we have no problem going it more than 1 year. But why do you want to stop all of a sudden just because it's Israel versus Hamas? This has to. They have to go in the long run and get rid of Hamas. What's your thought on that?
So historically, both Republicans and Democrats have supported Israel.
Okay.
The funding that these politicians get from the Israeli lobby is just enormous. Now we're seeing a change where there's a little distinction between the left and the right, and the Democrats, taking the position that no, Israel is a terrorist state. The Palestinians are being genocided. But to go to your question, okay, so for me, the way I see it, and this is just my opinion, the right is predominantly white establishment, right? And the right is predominantly conservative. And I see it personally as a white supremacist approach to choosing a side. It's not about humanity. It's not about legality. It's more so about, these people are white, white Europeans, white Americans that comprise Israel. Because Israel is not.
Let me throw this at you. Do you think religion
Yeah.
has something to do with it?
Of course.
A lot to
Christianity,
do with
because
it, right?
evangelical churches,
Yeah.
when you hear about the reports that are coming out, many of the pastors, they're very much for Israel and almost of hateful sort of, vibe,
Yeah.
I would say.
So yeah,
you know?
so they're saying that so this is some argument that I heard from Jews and Christians that are saying in 1948 when the Jews, even prior to that, when the Jews went to the land Palestine, it was pretty much an empty place. It wasn't really that occupied by Palestinians, and I think there's some religious aspect to it with the Bible mentioning that Israel
there's
would
definitely
come.
a religious
Israel
aspect
would
to
come
it,
back.
because when you look at
and
everyone cites the Bible,
Yeah,
and what
exactly.
Israel means in the Bible.
and we've never seen this before. We have never seen a country disappear and coming back twice, right? And in 1948, for Israel to come back, I think a lot of Christians view that as some kind of prophecy fulfilled. And many Christians are now saying there's no prophecy left to fulfill. It's all fulfilled, and waiting for Jesus to come back. And I think there is, like you say, a religious component to this, and I just don't see this ending. The bickering between Palestine and Israel. I just don't see it happening.
It's a bit more than bickering, but what are your thoughts
you're
on what you
right.
just said?
Listen, if you wanted to take over a region, okay, and the region itself has a historical religious past and significance, wouldn't you just use the religion and co-opt the religion and use the religion as an instrument to achieve your political end? That's essentially what Israel and the Zionist agenda has done. They have used Judaism and they have played on some Christian beliefs to get that support. And then anybody who doesn't agree is anti-Semitic, or a terrorist.
This is a more important question. Do you fear? Well, Hezbollah says that if the Israel goes and sends foot soldiers to Gaza, if they go into Gaza, then Hezbollah is going to get involved. Turkey doesn't really seem to be for them as well, for Israel as well. Do you see this evolving into something bigger, perhaps with Hezbollah getting involved, and then Iran? I mean, just straight out getting involved. Ayatollah Khomeini. I mean, he's been talking a lot about this situation as well, and this becoming a sort of a religious war, even maybe a Christian.
Like a potential World War III scenario,
yeah, but
right?
It's with a very, very Christian outline, where you'll see that religious, foes of Christianity
it's
are
actually lining up that way. Russia,
that's
China,
what I'm saying. Do you
Iran,
fear that? I'm
North
fearing this,
Korea,
man.
and they're lining up with Palestine, I think, right? And
Yeah.
you have these Western countries lining up to support Israel. Do you see this becoming a bigger issue, like an international warfare?
Listen, Israel controls and holds the key to peace. In the region, Israel is the sole holder of that key to peace. They don't want it. They don't want it. They want to continue destruction. They want to continue slaughtering Palestinians to achieve taking over the land and fulfilling their own goals that they set out years ago. That's, in my mind, there's no doubt about that. Now, where it leads is, who knows? But that is a very key component to all of this, is that Israel holds the key to peace. And they simply have stated on record that they essentially do not want it. Their own citizens who are held hostage by Hamas right now, and multiple times throughout the last couple of weeks, Hamas has said, okay, just cease fire. Just cease fire and we'll give you the hostages back. Israel has essentially said, nope, we don't care. We don't want them. Keep them.
Well, are there a lot of Jews living in West Bank and prior to the war happening in Gaza? They really want to go there?
So the settlements, okay, so if you look at a map and you do it chronologically of the region, you'll see that Palestine has shrunk.
I know, I saw that map. I saw that map, the 4-page map, yeah.
Right. And one of the hampers to any peace process is settlements. I mean, years and years ago, they've agreed, okay, or the proposal was, okay, no more settlements, but they have not stopped taking over houses and building settlements on Palestinian occupied territory.
Okay. All right. So what do you think about these reports? I'll just tell you, because of the Hamas image, like what Young said, it's not good around the world. So in 2002 report, okay, Hamas has attacked Israeli civilians. Hamas's most deadly suicide bombing was an attack on a Netanya hotel on March 27, 2002, in which 30 people were killed and 140 were wounded. The attack has also been referred to as a Passover massacre, since it took place on the first night of the Jewish festival of Passover at a Seder. These kind of reports, there's constant reports regarding Hamas about this. So what say you? This is 2002. You say Hamas started 2007, but this attack happened in March 27th, 2002. What say you?
Okay, so that's a report of something that is unfortunate and we condemn, right? But you're not hearing about the reports of Jerusalem and when Muslims are praying on one of their 2 holidays annually, where Israeli forces, mind you, Jerusalem is an unoccupied, unowned territory, international territory, that none of this is supposed to happen. Nobody has a right to claim over Jerusalem. This is by international law. Mm-hmm. The 2 days out of the year where Palestinians go and they come together and pray, the Muslims, on these religious holidays, they get attacked every time.
And those are not reported. That's what you're saying, by the mainstream media.
Exactly. So if you don't know this, and then you look at this report that you just read, it's like, oh wait, that's brutal to be attacking people during their sacred holiday. But for Muslims, you don't see it.
Yeah, I think next time you should probably bring us some articles, so that we can show it to our audience, the things that we don't get as because we
You
rely
have to read Al
heavily
Jazeera.
on Western media. But even like right wing media like Infowars has been heavily criticizing Israel, probably the most. They're showing both sides.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Both
though.
sides.
You know,
But
it's
Infowars is
so-
an alternative media that the
But
the
I'll tell you
mainstream media
something.
doesn't like.
Right, but I'll tell you something that's happening now, even on the conservative side. White Americans are waking up and saying, "Holy shit. All of our tax dollars, all of this money is going to Israel, and we've got people that, don't get retirement benefits, Social Security,
I'm more
medical.
worried about Ukraine.
People are literally poor. I mean, yeah, Ukraine is a big issue, but like we've been funding so heavily, way more than we've given Ukraine. Israel over
on a
period of
consistent
years.
basis.
Yes,
Yeah.
On a
Okay.
consistent basis, yeah. So now
Uh-huh.
white Americans are waking up to that reality and they're like, oh, nope, we're not having that anymore.
So
That's
Bilal,
it. That's done.
Mhm. Bilal, are you saying that Israel has also been attacking Palestinians, women and children? Because I've never seen those footages. Like, they landed the first punch, and these are reports that we are not getting from Western media. Is that what you're saying? They have
Yes,
actively been
and
involved in killing women and children there too, as well as like what Hamas is, and what Hamas is doing is just
Worse.
What
returning the
they're doing
favor.
now. I mean, that's for
worse, worse, and by a multiple. It's not even close. They've been completely brutal over a period of literally 75 years. When we say 75 years, we're not just throwing out a number.
Uh-huh.
Like this is well documented history of brutalized occupation that's been carried out by Israel.
Okay, so where
And-
can we
and
find
we
these
can't just-
reports? Where can we find these
I'll
reports?
provide you.
Al
I will
Jazeera?
provide
Did
your
Al Jazeera?
viewers-
Because I went to Al Jazeera too.
Can I ask? Can you
And
can
I
you
couldn't
find like
find it.
columns and maybe
Yeah, I
historical
couldn't find it.
text regarding this kind of stuff through Al Jazeera or a simple search?
You should be able to. I mean, it's not
All right, okay.
hidden.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But it's just we're so reliant, especially as Americans, on our mainstream media. We go to CNN, New York Times, because that's just what we're used to. But we don't realize that they're all reporting the same thing. And
Because
if-
yeah, I know. I mean, all the reports are different. Even regarding you saw, Young, you and I bet Bilal, we were mentioning the map how Palestinian land has been shrinking, right? And Jews, occupying.
you went to an
bigger.
alternative.
So
yeah.
I went to some other sources, and it said that is inaccurate too. That is
See, that's what I'm saying,
pro-Palestine map, and if you
everything's like fake news. Everyone's
Yeah,
saying that's
so
not
that-
that's not
so-
right. That's not right. So it's like what's
yeah.
right?
and in July, yeah, go ahead.
I would just say, just on that point, part of the Israeli propaganda is to discredit credible facts. That's part of their plan.
That's
is to
everyone's agenda. I
discredit
think.
Facts. I mean, no, journalism should be to tell the truth, to get to the bottom of things, to report accurately.
Not
But when you
not in this
have-
present day.
Yeah,
unfortunately
there's
not.
a lot of fake news going on in America too. Obviously, you've been in Michigan. A lot of people.
Right.
I mean, Michigan was one of the states that they stopped the vote counting in the middle of the night. That's how I remember.
Right.
But
But shout out Radio Korea for allowing us the space to even have this conversation.
yeah, we're
openly and honestly.
we started.
you know?
Yeah, we started this program, Culture Shock. Me and Young, CEO, our CEO Michael Kim wanted to start this show to tell the truth. We want to just talk about because it's so hard to find the real truth. We have to have we have to listen and read opposing views as well, and then somehow come up with the truth that we're trying to seek.
Well, that's become an honorable thing.
Mhm.
Whereas it should be just a normal course of business. But what you guys are doing is, thinking critically. This is an honorable undertaking in 2023. So I applaud you and your CEO and your company for doing this.
Thank you. So how do you think this is gonna play out? Is it gonna just be a regular thing now, like Ukraine and Russia? It's almost
It's gonna
like
be like the Crusades all over again, man. That's what I think.
It's possible.
yeah.
It's definitely possible. And just right before we started this interview, I was watching the news, and there was a gentleman talking about how the U.S. doesn't have the actual numbers to put troops on the ground and successfully win. We have troops in Iraq, Syria, and Israel has sent some troops into Gaza. They're getting slaughtered. They can't do the guerrilla ground warfare. They're gonna get slaughtered. This is known. If they don't have planes to fly above and drop massive bombs, they would lose 100% because they're inexperienced and they don't have the numbers and they don't have the capacity.
What?
And frankly, I don't think they have individuals who are willing to die for
See,
in defense of their
that's
land.
a very important thing what you said. You're absolutely right. No one wants to die for anything.
No. Do you think Hezbollah is gonna be involved heavily? Because I worry about that.
They are.
If Hezbollah is gonna really heavily,
They're ready to die.
Exactly.
What I understand is I understand that there are Hezbollah people even in the United States. Is that true or is that incorrect?
That's a scare. No, that's a scare. You know, they say like even in Dearborn, like even me, even my friends, we were put on this leaked FBI
Yeah, I would
terrorist
imagine.
watch
Really?
list.
Yeah,
That's
I-
crazy.
Yeah, I would
we were on
imagine.
20,000 guys my age, men, Muslim men from my area were put on this terrorist watch list that was leaked. We didn't do anything. You know, we don't plan. We're not some sort of sleeper cell like they're trying to make us out to be. Why? Because we call out Israel and we criticize Israel and we stand with the Palestinians. That makes us somehow on the
Okay.
terrorist watch list because we're a threat.
I
You
mean,
know?
I mean, there's so many pundits here. Iranian, like Patrick Bet David. There's so many. I mean, there's a lot of Iranians here in Southern California and Los Angeles as well. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Rothschild family. We talked a little bit about it last night. Young gets a little bit nervous. Young
I'm
gets
telling you, man.
Little
It's
bit
the
nervous.
Zionists, man. It's the Zionists.
Okay,
They're the
let's
deep
go there.
state.
So, okay, I think a lot of people believe that Rothschild family is the deep
Yeah.
state that's going on. They were the family behind all the money that you need for World War II. They backed
Or
UK.
bringing the funds or
Uh-huh.
raising the money or having influential people play a part in.
So it was kind of like a pay to play, right? Quid pro quo. Like the Rothschilds, instead of us giving you guys money, we want the land of Israel to happen. And that's what exactly happened. And you know the Balfour Declaration, right, Bilal? The letter was actually sent to a Rothschild family. It's public record. What I'm talking about, it's not even conspiracy theory stuff. I'm talking about the historical documents. And
Yeah,
a lot
okay,
of
then-
a lot of the mainstream media, they do not want to touch this. They do not want to touch this
No.
family at all. I think
No, the
Young
mainstream
gets
media.
nervous too.
No, the media. Yeah, because we're jacked up, dude. That's it, dude.
Well,
That's it.
So what say you?
Listen,
I'll join the
I would
establishment
say-
if you let me in.
I know you're ready, man. I know you're ready.
Listen,
If you can become famous, right? That's
I
why you
would
didn't become
say-
famous. Okay. All right.
I would say that's a conversation that it's not even worth it for us to even have.
Why not? Why not? That's the reason why
let me
Israel
tell-
happened, right?
Let me tell you, because you're kind of conflating all of what's going on and saying, "Oh, well, look at this one family." But what we have to recognize is this is an idea, this is a concept, this is an agenda that is set out and carried out and supported by multiple individuals and entities. And you can't, and I think by saying, "Oh, well, the Rothschilds," that family, it kind of oversimplifies it. And
No.
it takes away from, we want to have credibility when we're speaking
Okay.
about something.
I
And
think what I believe is without the Rothschild family, I'll be honest, I don't think Israel happened. I'll be honest with you. I think without them,
That's
I don't think Israel would have happened. I think they
But
were. It was Zionism, like you said, the Zionist. They're Zionist. You
but
know that,
it's
right?
Pure speculation.
It's not
but that's-
speculation. Did you see the Balfour
is.
Declaration? Did you see the letter
Of
that he?
course.
Who did Balfour send the letter to? Who? You didn't know about that, right? It is the Rothschild family. It's there. It's not even. You
Sure.
can. Why out of all the family they have to send it to the Rothschild family? Why? Why did
I mean, they're an
Balfour give it
They
to
were
him?
They were an influential family, and they had the resources and the resources that
Exactly.
were needed to
Without
carry this
those-
out.
Without those resources,
But-
because I think you want to talk about the root of the cause. You're saying so you don't deny Israel coming back in 1948, right? But you don't want them to intrude the life of Palestinians in Gaza and also West Bank. Is that where you draw the line? You can accept
No,
Israel
the
being there.
line- the line was drawn way before now and way before Gaza and the West Bank. I mean, they were refugees in Palestine, and then they just started taking over the land and slaughtering and prison. We're at over 6,000 people dead, more than half women and children, and you've got another 10,000 plus that are wrongfully imprisoned and being tortured in Israeli jails. So when you say it's where do you draw the line? There is no line. The line is evaporated. Israel has crossed all legal and moral lines.
Okay, so you would have been happy if it was a two-state.
A two-state solution is impossible. Israel does not want Palestine and has never really wanted Palestine to have any sort of sovereign power as a state.
I'm asking your opinion. Would two-state solve it? Would make it better? Your opinion.
Sure, but we would be naive to think that that's what Israel wants. They want the opposite, and they've showed us. They've displayed that to us. They've told us. So why can't we just accept that they don't want this?
Yeah, I'm not saying Israel. What they're doing is all right. I think they did a lot wrong.
What's the solution?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it has a solution.
When you ask someone, they'll say, well, there is no solution.
Mm-hmm.
Then what's the solution?
There is no solution in my opinion. I don't see a solution here, to be honest with you.
So long as Israel continues advancing its military occupation and brutalization and genocidal efforts against Palestinians, which, by the way, it's not just Palestine. They're bombing they just bombed the border of Lebanon. They're bombing Syria.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they have an expansionist mindset, and they think they can do it without any issues because they're backed by the U.S.
But also, media reports are saying that there are attacks from Hezbollah that they intercepted.
That Hezbollah has been also attacking the border.
Yeah, but they're not going to tell you that Hezbollah sent a rocket in response to being attacked.
Well,
they're just going to tell you. Yeah. No, but that's what the media does. That's very important. No, but you point out something extremely important, that the media does not provide the historical context. They're not going to tell you that the reason Hezbollah sent a rocket over is because they were just bombed.
But I think
37 members. I think we're at 45 members of Hezbollah have been killed in the last week. Okay. You're not hearing that.
Okay, I think Hamas has their own side as well. I think Syria is also supporting Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, right? Lebanon, Bahrain, right? Aren't these countries, Syria, aren't these countries also backing Hamas as well?
North Korea.
I think
China too. China is more on the Hamas side, I think.
I think any country that is for humanity and wants this brutalization to come to an end is going to prevent, because if Israel wins this, if Israel successfully wipes out all of these people and with no repercussions whatsoever, that is a slippery slope. Like, humanity will cease to exist. You're talking about a nuclear superpower that's being able to do this. I mean, at what point, you just talked earlier, where do you draw the line? The line needs to be drawn. The line needs to be established. This needs to come to an end. Mm-hmm. And everybody should be supporting Palestinians. Everybody should be supporting Palestinians.
Okay. Bilal, I have a question regarding the religion in Middle East. I understand that Hamas is a Sunni organization, but you have Iran, Hezbollah, which is Syria, which is more Shiite, right? This Shiite. So how could these Shiite countries support Hamas, which is a Sunni organization? Can you kind of explain it to us?
I'm Catholic. I support you.
No, Catholic and Christian. Can you kind of educate the people? Because I think you're familiar with the growth of all of these organizations.
I mean,
so can you tell
a
us
simple
about
analogy would be if somebody was attacking the United States, the Democrats and the Republicans would come together for the benefit of the United States. So Shias and Sunnis are coming together and putting their little bickering differences and political differences aside that they've had historically in order to prevent this attack on how we see it as an attack on Muslims, on Islam, on this beautiful religion that calls for peace, that sets out the rules for war, the rules for dealing with victims and enemy combatants. This is all set out, So that's my brief answer.
See, 9/11. Like I said, 9/11. There was that atmosphere. Everyone wanted the same thing.
Yeah, I think even Obama saying this is what he said in 2008. He was a Democratic presidential candidate talking about Hamas. You know what he said? If somebody was sending rockets into my house where my two daughters sleep at night, I'm going to do everything in my power to stop that, and I would expect Israelis to do the same thing. So it's like you're right. The Democrats and Republicans are kind of united. Mostly in public.
You know what? One of the
against,
things is that it's
Hamas
like nobody really knows history anymore either, right? So when you look at the 80s and when you look at it throughout, there were always these things, these happenings that were reported with Israel and Palestine or Palestinians. It was always there. I remember.
It's almost like a problem child in the world, right? I mean, always something happening in Middle East. We hear all these noise. Like you said. Yeah, I kind of disagree with you regarding the mainstream media. I think I consider mainstream media most of the time, when it's kind of relatively peacetime, they support more. They're more anti-Israel. I got that impression. I think George Soros. You know George Soros, right? George Soros is also anti-Israel. So most of the Democrats, since I think he's a big guy behind the scene, they support more. And I mean, they're kind of anti-Israel. That was the impression that I got. But you're saying that all the mainstream media, 100%, they're all in the same group. And there was a book that you wanted to recommend to us. Can you plug that in? And also your thought about the mainstream media one more time?
Yeah, the book is called Manufacturing Consent.
Manufacturing Consents.
Yeah,
Consent.
and I'll provide you with that. But
9/11.
For the exact, I mean, this hysteria and the clickbait. I saw something interesting a couple of days ago that only 20%, less than 20% of articles are actually read. The ones that are shared, only 20%. The rest, they only read the headline.
Okay.
Because we live in a time where
Instagram, social media, right? Just you want something to just flip up quickly. Like you have these reels,
live in a time of
YouTube
retards.
Shorts,
That's what
YouTube
it
Shorts.
is.
Right.
Instant gratification, right? That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, so you think the media is a problem then? Even domestically,
media is
right?
definitely a big problem.
Media is a tool.
So I think Bilal knows a lot about domestic politics too, California politics. He has been living in Bay Area for, like you said, 9 years. Prior to that, Detroit, Michigan. So the swing state people, the Rust Belt. You lived in the heart of it, and then California. Why are you deciding to leave California? Can you talk about that? Because we also talk about that issue heavily here on Culture Shock.
I mean, it's just getting more and more difficult and less sustainable to live here. There's
he's
just
a
so
lawyer,
much
too.
disarray. Yeah, I'm an attorney, and it's not just the financial aspect of it. It's just the cultural. When you go to Europe and you go to these different countries, it's like, wow, culturally they prioritize normal things like hanging out and getting to know one another, right. And here it's like everybody is so divided and put in this little box. It's very, very weird. And then when you land back after a 2-3 week trip in Europe, your cortisol levels immediately jump and you're immediately stressed out and thinking about, okay, I got these bills, I have these tasks and work and all sorts, but that's how we're living, and that's the atmosphere and culture that is the United States and in most Western places. So, I'm just sick of it. I'm fed up. And my wife is from New Zealand, and very peaceful place. And I just this isn't it. The U.S. Culturally, it's just not it anymore for me.
Okay.
I agree with you. I came back in 2017.
Yeah, same as John.
After
You're right.
living 20 years in South Korea. And South Korea had progressed into this beautiful, just very
advanced
educated,
country, right?
Advanced country. And I came back, and first year it was cool, second year was cool, but after the third year, I was like, my God, this country, California especially California. Have you seen LA? LA is disgusting. San Francisco is even more disgusting. What the hell are these guys doing to our cities?
It's crazy. Bilal, you said your car got broke into like 5 times. Is this zombie? Did San Fran become a zombie place where we see it from the TV footages with these people walking like zombies, drugged up with fentanyl and methamphetamine?
Yeah, it's a wasteland. Yeah, it is. It's not. That's what's happening. people are broke, and like if you want to order a burger, it's like $25.
Hey,
You know?
hey, that is true. Yeah, it's
You know,
crazy.
cost of living, it just doesn't make sense. So people are obviously resorting to committing crimes, and you know, most crimes aren't really being processed in a way that results in any, you know, people are without with immunity just walking in and stealing whatever they want and leaving, and legally a lot of district attorneys are not doing anything about it. But it just, that doesn't even address the root cause of a lot of these issues. We have a lot of social issues here. Listen, I don't mind paying even 50% in taxes, but I want to see that money being
they're going to waste all the money.
Something good.
They're going to waste all that money.
They just keep sending it for war, and we have all of these privatized systems, like privatized healthcare, you know, privatized insurance. You go to other countries; these are nationalized.
I know
things.
it is, like in South Korea too.
I know. By the way, my Palestinian friend married a girl from South Korea.
Oh, okay.
They had a wedding in South Korea,
Beautiful.
and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people there. You know, when we were in Spain, I walked into a pharmacy and I asked the pharmacist, "How much is this insulin, for instance?" Because my wife is a type 1 diabetic. It was $4 for the month, and that's really what made me say, "Okay, we have to move here. We have to leave the U.S. because we're paying $1,000 for this $4 medicine that you need to survive."
Yeah, you're right. The
What
medicines here.
happened? You know what it is?
I mean, America's really crumbling down.
the U.S.
The Democratic policies. Do you blame? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, both. I think it's both. I think it's just the system. But I think the U.S. wants to make every single dollar out of their citizens as much as they can.
Squeeze it out.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's no, even in medical care, they don't care about pre-care or
No,
whatever,
they don't.
right?
They really don't.
Preventive care.
I think sometimes
they
I
want
think-
you to get sick so they can
That-
treat you
that's-
and make money
you
off
stole
of
words
you.
out of my mouth.
This
Yeah.
is a disgusting.
Yeah,
this is a
that's-
disgrace.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
things
It's a
like that are
disgrace.
not debatable.
It's
don't
a
even
shame.
like I don't even debate with people that argue, "Oh no, you know, that's not the case." It's not even debatable anymore. Our pharmaceutical industry or the insurance
Right.
industry, like I don't even want to talk about how this is not the reality, because it is.
Do you blame the Democratic policies? You know, Gavin Newsom. I really do. I think this is because ever since this state became supermajority Democrats, you have these lunatics like George. I don't know, the policies
not
are
just
crazy.
this state,
like George
bro.
Gascon, L.A. County Sheriff, District Attorney, and you know they don't believe
Bonta, Gascon,
Bonta. They
Newsom.
don't want to charge people.
That's
You
the
have this
Hellfire Trio right
$950
there.
rule where you can steal as much as possible. You know, you have droves of people going to 7-Eleven or whatever, you know, Rite Aid, and just steal stuff, and people don't do anything about it. Of course, they want to leave the state.
They had another Rite Aid closed down. That was in my neighborhood.
exactly.
In my neighborhood.
Rite Aid's filing for bankruptcy.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
did they?
Okay,
Did
so
they?
that's it. All
They're
right.
they're filing.
And like you
that's
said,
their
you know,
post.
it's such a horrendous place to live too. Like in Los Angeles, you know, in Koreatown, I went to McDonald's here, Mickey D's here, and I ordered a double quarter pounder with cheese combo. Do you know how much it costs? Almost $16. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
You should have come to my restaurant. It would have been a lot cheaper.
I think so. I mean, it's crazy town
And it's
here.
a third pounder.
Yeah, I think Joe Biden's a bad president. I think he's a
No,
horrendous
it's
president.
not just Biden. This
no,
goes
I
way
think-
beyond. I mean, it's the Clintons, it's the whole Democratic Party, it's the whole Republican Party too.
You-
Who are even
I know,
putting
I
George
know.
Soros people as
I know.
but, he didn't get it, but
Okay, so this is what Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say, politically speaking, we put corporations and profits over people.
yeah.
And I think that flaw
Agreed.
leads to so many issues. And I think that's what's going to basically be the demise of the system.
Okay, any last words, Bilal, you want to tell to our audience?
Thank you guys for having me. I just want people to know that if you stand with Palestine, if you support Palestinians in any capacity, even if you repost something on your story or just share a friend or educate yourself, you are doing something that is so good for you and I think for humanity, because Palestine is the litmus test for our moral compass as a global population now.
You know, I understand exactly
Ceasefire.
where you're coming from when you're saying that, and I'm going to keep an eye out on the situation.
Ceasefire?
And do
Is
more.
ceasefire the answer now? Ceasefire?
I mean,
I don't-
there's really no
Ceasefire
other
should be
way.
the given.
There's no other way.
Yeah, we want it to end as fast as possible.
All right, thank
know.
you very much.
Thank you, Bilal.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining us
All right.
on
Culture Shock. Okay, bye-bye.